Timeout, overtime, hot take, debate, penalty by so many options. We on the way, unapologetic opinions, guests checking in, so I share on my social. Merch going up, my brother, he going global. Ads hold it down for the ladies, they need their own show. But we right back with it, timeout for Coach Cam, we shouldn't miss a minute. But we right back with it, timeout for Coach Cam, we shouldn't miss a minute.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Time Out with Coach Cam. It's your boy Cam Chancellor, and we back again with some more NBA talk. Seems like something is going on. Every day more news is happening, and so I felt like it was important to come back. On this Friday and do another show. I got my homegirl Tori back with me. What's going on?
Not much, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And I'm excited for the show because there's a lot to talk about. It's a lot to happen over the course of a few days. So I'm definitely looking forward to, talking some NBA with you. Um, we'll discuss the 76ers and their collapse. I know they're playing now, but their epic collapses. We'll discuss what's going on with the Dallas Mavericks. Also, we'll talk some Clippers Jazz. Of course, Nets and Bucks, and his Celtics trade that happened today with them dealing Kemba Walker to the Thunder. So we're going to get started. I really want to talk about the 76ers. Um, for me, I'm not going to say I'm shocked that this is happening because I'm starting to see a pattern with Doc Rivers coach teams here as of recent, giving up leads. Whether it's series leads, giving up big leads in games. It's starting to be a pattern. But I'm gonna ask you, hypothetically, the 76ers lose this game tonight and they lose the series. What changes do you think need to be made, if any? And would you get rid of Doc Rivers after 1 year?
If the 76ers don't make it out of this series, which is looking at their history, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. A little surprising that it's the Hawks, but if they don't make it, it needs to be busted up. At this point, this is how many years of this duo or this team? Uh,
Yeah.
in particular, Ben Simmons, uh, number one draft pick, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
This guy, he he doesn't seem to be developing past what he is. His perimeter shots are not there. You know, the other day, can't make free throws. Free throws that's a big problem. So if it were me, I would bust the 76ers up. Everybody without the last name and B got to go. Curry can stay. Uh, and I would probably go ahead and let Doc Rivers go. Like you said, it's a history with him.
Yeah.
It's a history with him. With I mean, you see what he did with the Clippers, and he left the Clippers, and the Clippers. I mean, they're figuring something out without him. So at that point, do you ask yourself, was it Doc Rivers? Is this him? Is this how things roll with him as your head coach?
For me, it's just you know I have a hard time just saying it's Doc, but you gotta just look at
It's
the
not just Doc.
you just gotta look at. I mean, you gotta look at what it is. I mean, everywhere he's been, he's blew a big lead. So for me, I didn't like the fit Doc Rivers going there. I mean, he's a good coach. He's always gonna get them to the playoffs and different things like that. But I just didn't like the fit. I didn't really like the fit, even though they was the best team in the East. I always said, wait to the playoffs when it comes to a Doc Rivers team. Wait to the playoffs when
Mhm.
it comes to Ben Simmons, because the game changes. The game changes to
Yep.
a half court game where Ben Simmons don't operate that well. So, and you're starting to see that, and you see it every playoff. So it's not going to change. You got
Yeah.
to look at packaging Ben Simmons. Look at packaging him for. I say you go for Dane. If you're Philly, you have the pieces, you have the young talent, you have pieces that I think that will lure lure Portland to make a trade with you. I think you got to try to go for a Dame or a Bradley Beal. You got to go something to that route. Joel Embiid is like a Shaq that needs his Kobe,
Yeah. I agree.
and Ben Simmons is just not that piece to make that work. So yeah, if they lose this series here, I would look to trade Ben Simmons, and I would possibly fire Doc Rivers. With the GM Daryl Morey, who came from Houston, he like to make changes quickly if it's something that he doesn't like. So that'll be interesting to see. Right now, the Hawks is up 29-25. So we'll see how that game progresses and move forward. Um, Now I do want to talk. I try to stay away. From talking about my team so much, but the Dallas Mavericks was in the news for all type of things this past couple days. Um, we fire our GM Donnie Nelson after 24 years. Um, we fired Rick Carlisle after I believe 13 years. Um, you know, I kind of seen the writing on the wall with Carlisle. Um, there was things going on with him and Luca that,
Mhm.
they weren't getting along. I didn't know how true it was during the season, but I guess it was. Anybody that steps down with 2 years left on their contract, there has to be some kind of friction there that you feel like that's not fixable or that's not going to get better. Um, no, I definitely wish, Coach Carlisle well. Um, it's just interesting to see what happens. I know Luca's going to sign that 5 year, $201 million extension with the Mavs. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. But I'm just anxious to see who we can bring in that can build around Luca. Today it was announced that Dirk Nowitzki is going to be a special advisor
Like
in
that.
the front
Mhm.
office. So, maybe that can lure some talent in. Dirk, is pretty respected around the league. So it's interesting. What do you think? What's going on with the Dallas Mavericks right now? Because I'm lost. It's definitely a change after Rick Carlisle been there for so long.
Yeah. It was a bit of a shock, I guess, for me when you're talking about stepping away from someone who's been there for 24 years. Uh, but there, like you said, you've heard rumors that Coach and Luca don't get along. Uh, kind of hard for me try to figure out why they don't get along. Um,
Right.
but like you mentioned, somebody with 2 years left in their contract, and as they say, they mutually agreed. But yeah, wording. I'm pretty sure he was fired. Uh, but from what I understand, it there's another man in the front office that Mark Cuban is very fond of, and apparently there was tension between him and the GM. Uh, and and GM maybe GM step away, and from there, the coach is like, well, you know what, I'm going to, you know, uh, you've been coaching the whole time. The same GM has been there the whole time. I can understand that relationships matter uh, in a type of a field like this. I don't think this is the time for this. Uh,
Right.
the, the the focus is you definitely need to get somebody around Luca. However, if you know you don't feel too well with the player, then it probably would be at best to step away from the franchise. Although they say that it had nothing to do with Luca. However, if you look at his farewell, and he thanked everybody, Luca was not mentioned.
There you go. Yep, and that's what I recognize. I'm like, he said thank you to a lot of folks, a lot of people, and Luka Doncic was not one of those names. And obviously, it was just friction there. It's unfortunate. Like I said, Rick's a good coach. But Rick, Rick from the old school. I'm not saying time is passing by because he knows the game. He know how to coach. But far as relating to a superstar like Luka Doncic, that may not have been the best fit. Uh, Handling Dirk Nowitzki and those guys is a bit easier. They from the old
Yeah,
school, and these guys,
any day. And it's been 10 years since Dallas has.
Yeah, yeah, I believe Rick Carlisle been there for almost I'd say 13 years.
Yeah, I think it was 13 years, and Dallas hasn't really done anything since 2011. So about a decade.
Right. Yep.
Uh,
And that's true too. You know, we haven't done anything for a while. We haven't made it out the first
First
round in
round.
forever. When we make the playoffs. So, you know, I think it was time. Now, who we hire, I don't know. I'm hearing Jason Kidd. I heard they really like the assistant that was there, Jamal Mosley. They want him to get a chance. He coached a game earlier this year against the Knicks, and they won. And they asked Luca about him, and Luca was like, he definitely has what it takes, um, you know, to be a head coach in this league. So that may be a route that they go or decide to go. That'll be interesting for sure. But it'll be interesting to see how we handle that because, I'm not used to all these changes with my Mavericks. Normally we got something stable in place as far as front office coaching. Maybe the players we need to tweak that, but we always have that up top stable and that Rocky. And that's being Rocky. That's kind of makes me a little nervous there. But
Yeah,
we'll see. I heard we're trying to get the GM from the Raptors, Ujiri, too. So I'll keep an
yeah,
eye out
I
on
did see
that.
that.
Now, if we get him, I'll be happy because I think he can get the players in there around Luca that could make us successful for sure. All right. Uh, Paul George the other night I think shocked us all. Stepped up in the playoffs, had a huge triple double. Um, and beat the Jazz on their home floor, which is a tough, very tough place to play, by the way.
Yep.
Um, Now, if Paul George finish off this series, will you give him a little props here? Because we done called him every type of P there is, but playoff P. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
will we give Paul George some respect if he finished out this series against the Utah Jazz?
Well, I give Paul George respect. This is a tough one for me. Um, like I said, he had a phenomenal game the other night. Very surprising. I was for sure they were going to drop it, as we know. Paul has been not playoff, not playoff for a while.
Right.
But I could give him a smidge. I can give you a smidge for two games. That game was tough for you. The Utah Jazz. You're talking about what the best in the West at this time, and that's a tough game. And
Yeah.
if he can close it out, I will give him a smidge. Just a little bit. I
Just a
guess I
little
could go ahead.
respect.
Just a little respect I could give it to him.
Just a little bit, huh? I mean, I think we kind of forget a little bit, like Paul George Indiana days, where he performed a bit better in the playoffs than he has been, as far as with OKC. Well, I will say this: his last 2 years in Indianapolis, he struggled in the playoffs a little bit. But far as like when they was battling out with the Heat and they were really contenders, Paul George was that dude. He was going hard in the playoffs and really kind of you know leading that group. So for me, I would give him his respect, especially to shake some playoff demons because it's hard to do that. You perform bad for a while, and now you're the number one option goes out on your team, and you forced to go back to that old style. And he really performed and stepped up to the plate and led that team. So I will give him his respect because, like I said, I think we kind of forget what Paul George can do. And how effective he can be. Like I said, I always love this game, so I'm happy that he's able to put something together like this and
Yeah.
actually, dominate a game because he's always had that ability in him. Yeah, he's always had that ability. Now, on the other side, on the flip side, if the Jazz lose this, I mean, where do you go? I mean, you got Donovan Mitchell tied up. You got Rudy Gobert. You signed him to a whole bunch of money. It's not really where do you go if you're the Jazz? Because this is a prime opportunity for you to make the finals. If you're a team like the Utah Jazz, you have no LeBron. He's out of the playoffs right now. They struggle with injuries. Um, you got the Nuggets out. They struggle with injuries.
Injuries.
The Clippers right now struggling with injuries, and they playing against them. This is a perfect time in my eyes to get them. And
Huh?
he's making a good point right here. My boy, Ban Conley matter, and he does because they've been doubling Donovan Mitchell, and there's no one else that can consistently, make shots and create for others or create for himself. So yeah, I do agree with Ben on that with Conley matter. But where do they go if they lose this series?
Uh, that's a good question. Um, on the flip side of things that you mentioned, like I said, I had a wonderful game, but the Jazz, what that, in my personal opinion, I don't feel that they should be in the predicament that they're in. Like you said, the West is wide open for them. It's a
Wide
perfect
open for the
opportunity.
taking.
It open for them, and it's everybody's playing with injuries. If you can't break through on this, I'm not. Well, I mean, where do you go from here? Because, like you said, you got people tied up,
Yep.
and quite a bit from there, and it's I don't know, it's not a good look if they can't break through this.
The thing is, they remind me of like like Mavericks back in the day when they just couldn't get over the hump. You just almost gotta really kind of stay the course and make minor tweaks to your roster. It ain't nothing much they can do. I mean, you're number one in the West. You know, signed your best players. I mean, at some point they just gotta break through. It's gotta be that moment where they break through.
Yeah,
Conley, like I said, Conley is a big loss for them. Uh, but they got up 2-0 without Conley, if I'm not mistaken. Or he played
exactly.
game, or did he play game? He might have played game one. But they got up without Conley. I don't think he played game one, but they got up without him. I mean, so they got to try to figure out and make some adjustments here. I don't say you get rid of Quinn Snyder. I think he's a good coach for Utah. But at the same time, it's about results in the playoffs. And at
Hmm.
some point they're gonna want some results there. And I'm not sure if I think next year to be a thing where if they lose this series, Quinn Snyder comes back, but he's on the hot seat. He said he hasn't played. Okay, I didn't think
Yeah,
so.
I
I
didn't think he
I,
played
I
either.
didn't think so there, but yeah, I mean, so with the Utah Jazz, man, this is a perfect opportunity for them. They got to get this done, and if they don't tonight, they're gonna have to really look themselves in the mirror and realize they blew a great opportunity at making the finals this year, especially with the West wide open. Um, now Nets and Bucks, we got a game 7 on the menu for us. Last night, Giannis and Chris Middleton stepped up. And by the way, I want to tell everybody the we gotta stop the Chris Middleton slander. I feel in my eyes. I like Chris Middleton. I think he gets a bad rap. Has he? I mean, does he come like every game and drop 30? No, but I think he's somebody that's solid. I think he's a solid number two option. He's been a All Star for a while now, for a couple years now. So I think it's time for us to kind of put a little bit more respect on Chris Middleton's name last night with him dropping 38 points. But Nets and Bucks, game 7. Who you got?
Uh, I might shock you, but I think I'm gonna go with the Nets.
Mm.
Uh, and that hurts my heart to say, but that's how I feel. But I gotta go with, and I say this strictly because the Bucks weren't supposed to give up Game 5. That
Yeah,
that wasn't supposed to happen. And I feel like all they did was give time for James Harden to heal up a little bit more, to rest just a little bit more. He played. He was a decoy, but as you could see last game, he was a little bit more himself. They lost, but he was just still a little bit more himself. And like I said, I just don't have faith in the Bucks. Um, that game five, it was that there should have been no reason why the Bucks didn't walk away with that. Um, and because of that, I feel that they opened up the door, and that game is going to come back to haunt them. And I'm gonna have to go with the Nets on this one.
You know, I've been thinking long and hard about this one. I think I've been thinking long and hard, and before I put my boy Ban's comment up because I gotta say it, I've been riding the Nets all year. I've been saying Nets, 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 Nets. I've been on the Nets train in the East. I think I'm going Bucks. I
Oh,
think I'm going the Milwaukee Bucks in 7. James Harden is about 30% out there. I'm looking at the way he's moving, and this is the reason why I wanted to show his comment afterwards. He said Harden hurting more than helping. I think so defensively. I know last night he got a steal, and in any other circumstance, James Harden would have got the steal, would have took it coast to coast, either got a foul finish. He grabbed it. It looked like he was about to take off, and he couldn't. And he backed it out, slowed it up, and walked it up the court. And I'm like, he can't accelerate the way he wants to off that hamstring to get into the lane and draw fouls. He's more of a decoy than anything. If I'm the Bucks, whoever's guarding him, or whoever's he's guarding, I'm going at him. I'm testing him out to the max. Um, I think he's about 30-35% on that hamstring, to be honest with you. KD going to get his 30 plus to 40, no doubt about it. I'm looking at the guys like Joe Harris, no show this whole series. Um, I'm just not knowing where the bucket's going to come from. You may get a performance like from Jeff Green.
Jeff Green and Blake.
He's
I was
yeah,
gonna
he
say.
Blake Griffin may, but Blake Griffin he ain't been
Yeah,
doing
real
much of
iffy.
nothing either. Um, I I got the Bucks. I think the winner. I will say this: the winner of this game to me is going to win the NBA Finals.
Really?
I'm going as much to say the winner of this game 7 will win the NBA Finals. As much as I like Trey Young, he ain't beating either one of these teams.
I don't think he should have made it as far as he has, but
And if I'm looking at Philly, they damn sure not gonna beat none of these teams. Not the way they just blow leads and you can't trust them at all. So I think the winner of this game wins the finals.
but that's how I feel about the Bucks coaching. I feel
That's fair to
the thing
say.
that what you think they should do, it is not what they do. Like
Yeah,
I said, you just keep going back to five. They just Durant is eight. I mean, you gonna leave him open, let him do what he do. Of course, he will beat you. And you don't double. You haven't looked at James Harden the whole time. Does nothing, and you don't. It's the playoffs. You injured. I understand it, but it's the playoffs. You gotta go after him. You gotta expose that weakness. I just feel that is not what the Bucks have done. I don't.
yeah, they haven't.
And
They
it's just
haven't.
I just don't have faith in that.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you not one bit for not having faith in Budenholzer at all because he has shown he got a lot of Doc Rivers in him. As far as in the big game, blowing leads, blowing series, just underachieving at times. So I definitely understand that. But I'm looking at the other side, Steve Nash. What can he do?
Yeah.
We done seen Steve Nash. We done seen that. Well, not Steve Nash, but we done seen Dan Tony, who is this right hand guy right now. We done seen him in these big moments. He hasn't come through on many occasions. And Steve Nash, he's new to this. Um, so that's a big factor too. I'm looking at Steve. Can he push the right buttons at the right time? You know, And I'm just looking at where the help gonna come from the Brooklyn Nets, and I just don't see it. This team was built around those big three, that big three, and for them to carry them, and for them to always have at least one or two of them on the floor.
Yeah.
Um, and you take one of those guys out, that's huge. I just I, unless KD pull off one of those performances he did, yeah, and it has to be one of those. It has to be almost a 40 plus point, 11, 12 rebounds, 9 plus assists. It has to be that performance for the Nets to win. And I'm not saying he can't do it at all. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't see it. I see Giannis and the Bucks making it to the conference finals, and possibly, and like I said, the winner of that game gonna make the finals. That's how I see it because these two teams that I'm looking at here, I can't see it. I can't see neither one of them doing anything. And I could be wrong. Teams get hot, but I don't see it at all. Um, Now, before we get into the Celtics trade, um, Zion Williamson has come out, and basically it's rumors in his camp that he's not happy with how they're building around him and with the organization. Um, for me, and I know superstars have a lot of power in the NBA. Nobody has, you know, more power as an employee in the sports world than the NBA player. Um, However, I just can't get with this one. And normally I'm all for it. I'm all for the player. I can't get with this one. You're in what? This was your second year really playing, or third? This is your second year really fully playing.
Yeah.
Let's say it like that. No, no, no. This was his first year.
It's his first year.
Oh, his second
Actually,
year,
it's his second year, but it's his first year actually
like playing the whole
playing
season.
season. Yeah.
Okay, so this is his second
Yeah.
season that he just finished up, and you're first of all you're not healthy like all the way throughout the whole season. Your game got a lot of developing to do. I understand he averaged 27 points a game. I get it, but you can't shoot beyond the free throw line. You have to run your offense, through Zion Williamson under the free throw line. I'm not a big component of that. He's not someone that's going to bring the ball up the court for you and distribute for others. They tried that. That didn't work. Um, for me, it's like you're calling for changes, but you got a lot that you need to fix on your own game that can help your team. How about
Mhm.
being able to make a 15-foot jump shot? What's wrong with expanding? I ain't even asking for a three just to be able to keep defenses honest. Shoot a 15-footer. Your free throws need work. For him to be as explosive, strong, and that athletic he is, I think he's a average to below average rebounder. I don't think he's that good of a defender. He make highlight blocks, but that don't make you a good defender. So Zion got a lot to work on for him to say, "Hey, I don't like the way the direction this organization is going." Especially when it's just your second full year playing, and it's just a lot of, for me, there's a lot of holes in his game. Even though he scores, but to me, it's a lot of holes in his game. I mean, how do you feel about that whole thing? And him coming out basically, or his family coming out basically saying they're not happy with the direction of where New Orleans is going.
And then that's what I you hit it right. His family. I'm not so sure if this is actually Zion. Thank you. But it's his family. Maybe they don't like that the organization is not a winning organization right now. But I think you're absolutely right as far as it's too early, in my opinion, for him to start trying to say, I don't like the way this is being built around me. And like you said, this has been year 2 and 1 of him actually playing for the season, and he didn't finish this season healthy either. I think he was out. He went out early this year with another
Yeah, yeah.
injury.
Last like week of the season, he didn't play.
He did,
But
but
he
you know,
missed some time. But
he missed time
he
before that too.
yep.
And like you said, he's a one dimensional kind of player. Like he's not that great of a defender. I'll give you that. Like I said, he when he block it looks great.
Yeah, it looks great.
But
It looks great.
that it's just it's too early. I think it's just too early for you to try to say that. And you know, at this point, you haven't really given it time either. But I know that you're a big fan. You don't think that they should build around him, so that you can't lead a team with someone like Zion. And like you said, I think his overall game has some development to do. Therefore, again, it's just too early for him to start that. Um, if I was the Pelicans, I wouldn't sneeze at trying to get something out of it. I wouldn't not think about it. Let me put it that way. Um,
Yeah.
but I definitely think that it's maybe not necessarily Zion, but Zion's family.
Right, right. And this right here was a good comment. It said, I don't like family making comments, but he can voice things, especially with the coaching situation. I feel like maybe he can voice his opinion about the coach. Well, why not? But the family comments to me is what they hear from Zion
Pillow talk.
and
Mhm.
somebody that can't hold water in the family and just trying to get a couple seconds of fame or whatnot came out and said, well, Zion ain't happy. He's all the time Zion's not happy with this, that, and that. Um, you just gotta, kind of. It's crazy. Like sometimes you can't even tell your family how you feeling about a situation on the team because they'll tell. Like this is a prime example. Like of course he probably told his family, like, man, this Sam Van Gundy dude, he can't coach. Uh, this blah blah. See, look, yeah, it's prime stepdad trying to get in the light. For his 2 seconds of fame. You know what I mean? So he probably just, just talking like Stan Van Gundy. I don't like that dude. I don't know what they doing. I don't know how we built. Blah 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 blah. And came out and said it, and it makes Zion look like he's a diva already at 20 years old. So that's interesting. Uh, you know, let me see this. Is Zion just want to get out that city? He ain't been there 2 years. But the thing is, they're not gonna trade him. They're not gonna trade him. They'll trade Brandon Ingram before they trade Zion Williamson. But their roster just not built for success. I said
No.
this previously on the last show. They're not built for success. They got Steven Adams out there, big ogre in the paint, clogger. Um, he's solid, but not what they really need because they got another clogger next to him, is Zion Williamson, who's not going to stretch the floor, who's a paint person, and he needs that space. So two guys in there, um, in the paint, that's not working. You got Brandon Ingram, who's an ISO player. He reminds me of kind of like, I'm not going to say Carmelo on Denver because Carmelo on Denver was winning. Um, it's kind of hard to even describe him at this point, but he's an ISO player. I know he gets his buckets, but once again, it's not really winning basketball. They got Eric Bledsoe, just guys, just guys that you just look, it's just like they're just guys.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just seems like my boy Lonzo,
Oh,
too, just can't kick it in that second gear that I need him to kick it into. I've said on this show I'm a big, Zoe fan. I feel like Zoe could do it for me, and it's just like he he give you a 2 weeks of brilliance, and you like that's the Zoe I need to see right there, where he's averaging like 23 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and I'm like that's the Zoe that I need to see. And then the next 2 weeks after that, he's averaging like 8. 4-6, and you're just like, what? Like, I don't understand it. Why he can't put it together for an 82 game season? So I think, um, he's a restricted free agent, but I think he's out of there. Uh, yeah, Lamelo the one. I think LeVar told us that. He said he'll be the best one.
One, yeah.
And he didn't lie at all. Um, Let me see. Melo in Denver was the right analogy. He had a better team around him to get to the playoffs. That's fair. That's what Brandon Ingram remind me of. Like, just kind of like a Melo type player. He gonna get his buckets. He got a nice mid range game. Can get his shot off, but it just don't win for you. Baby ball legit. Absolutely, he's absolutely legit for sure. Now Zoe, and we're gonna talk about this. Zoe, the reason why I'm gonna bring up this next team is because I think the Celtics, who made this trade, Kemba Walker, the 16th pick for Moses Brown, Al Horford, and a second rounder. I think they're gonna clear space to try to get Zoe 2 in Boston. Just saying. I think they cleared space to try to get Lonzo in Boston. Just I'm not saying it to be true. I'm just thinking so. They need someone to distribute now. They didn't need Kemba Walker.
No.
They need somebody that's gonna get that ball to Jaylen Brown on the wing, get it to Tatum on the wing, and and push the pace a little bit. I think it would be a solid fit for him. However, this trade it's highway robbery. If you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, you're ecstatic. You ecstatic. You get another number one pick that falls 2 spots outside of the lottery. You get Kemba Walker, which now you can either buy him out, you can keep him on the roster for a little while, see what he does. Maybe he has that. I'm not. He's not gonna give you a Chris Paul type impact, but he gives you a backcourt of of a Kemba Walker and a Shea Gilgeous Alexander, something to possibly build around. Um, and then if you look at it, they could possibly trade Kimba for something else. I mean, I blame OKC a lot for not keeping that roster together, James Harden and all them. But they always find a way to rebuild their roster somehow, whether it's with veterans or draft picks. And they got 3 draft picks this year, first round picks this year, and like several, like almost like 12 or 13 over the next uh several years. So out of this trade, for me, I think the Thunder won this trade. Uh, you traded for a guy that you already had. It's just the Thunder won in my eyes. How do you feel about the trade?
Um, Ultimately, I do think the Thunder won the trade. I do see where Boston was going with it. Like you said, they didn't need Kimba. They also, with moving him, they moved some salary cap too. They brought back in a fan favorite with Al. I wasn't really thinking Lonzo, but now that you mention it, that could be a potential move. But over and all, OKC, they get these picks. On top of that, if the lottery falls in their favor, they get that as well. And then Kimba's not worth nothing. You know what I mean? I do feel like they'll shop him. I do think they'll ultimately get him to somewhere where he wants to be. Uh, if he wants to come to the Lakers somehow, some way, we'll take him. But I do think over and all, okay, he definitely won that. But I do think both teams they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted out of it.
Yeah, yeah, people going in saying like sound like Kimba. Sound like I don't want him in LA. If that's possible, that could be a buyout scenario where he already get his money he signed out there for the veteran minimum. So that could be a scenario for the Lakers. And just I seen the Dame comment. We getting Dame right here. You're not getting Damian Lillard. Okay, have to be by trade, and y'all don't have nothing. I hate to say it, but I hate to hear it that y'all go get Beal or Dame. What do y'all have to trade that's worth anything? Nobody wants Cal Kuzma. Nobody wants your first round picks because they're going to be at the bottom. So for me, y'all have to get very creative. Kemba Walker would be a creative move where you can sign a guy, that's gonna get their buyout money, that may be looking for somewhere to win. You can get for the cheap. You can get somebody like Kemba or some of that, something, like that. But outside of that, you're not getting any huge names. You just gotta surround LeBron and AD with some shooting. Um, and that's the main thing. And and for me, since we own the Lakers, and that was kind of what we was going to get into next. Since we own the Lakers, uh, how do you feel? How do you like if you were in position? Like, how do you fix the Lakers? You know what I mean? How do you fix them? For me, I don't understand what's the Caruso hype. I think he doo doo. I hate when he score.
Caruso's hustle. And he bowed down to LeBron. I'll go ahead and say it. He figured LeBron out, and that saved Caruso's butt. He was everything in the bubble, though. I will give him that. However, when you look at Caruso's numbers, he's not really doing anything. I like him. I like his energy. I like it, but if I have to fix the Lakers, everybody on the chopping block, in my opinion, except for AD and LeBron.
Hmm.
That's just where we're at. When we won that championship in the bubble, we let go of a lot of key role players. Our center this year was a joke. Um, but then more importantly, we need to get some, preferably some people who can shoot. We need a consistent third option. It was supposed to be Kyle Kuzma. We see how that went. I said that at the beginning of last year. He wasn't it. He wasn't going to
Yeah.
be it. And to Kuzma's defense, I really think that he would benefit from leaving the Lakers. I don't think, and I'm going to
Yes.
say this, I don't think he can play with LeBron. Not everybody can play with LeBron. I could see Kuzma going to another team and becoming probably a decent six man somewhere else. He plays a lot better when LeBron's not on the court or when LeBron is out. No, we don't need to keep Kuzma. I'm sorry, Kyle Kuzma. His no, he's no. It's just a no. He doesn't fit.
No,
Um,
he
his
doesn't.
IQ is questionable still. Um, he seems to be more focused on fashion and than it did to seem hoops. But I say that with the Lakers, we need a consistent third. That the first was we need a third option. We need that third score. We need that someone to rely on. We need a decent center, and we need some shooting. We were in that series with the Suns. They pushed us to the perimeter, and we had no game. Nobody could make a shot because there was no one to make a shot. They took the inside game away from us, and we were done.
Yep.
So shooting a center and that consistent third score. Um, some people argue to keep Dennis. Not a really big fan of keeping Dennis. I would like to see us somehow try to get creative. Um, I know DeRozan. I think he might be. Is he really getting released this? Is he a free agent this year,
Yeah,
DeRozan?
yeah. So yeah, Gerard DeRozan is definitely an option. Could be an
Um,
option.
and I know that he grew up being a Lakers fan. He roots for the Lakers, and he has always mentioned how he would like to play.
Yeah.
Um, I think if we could, that's somebody we could potentially go up for. I would like to see us push for the Kimba. Um, but pretty much everybody else is on the chopping block, in my opinion.
Nah, I agree. Everybody has to be possibly available, but them two. Um, you know, Schroeder, maybe, maybe not. You know, I'm leaning towards no. With Dennis Schroeder. Uh, Now my thing is this: you just don't want to grab names because they big names. Like I'm looking at DeRozan, I'm not sure he fits either. It's kind of like when Drummond was added. Everybody was like, "Ooh, we got Andre Drummond," and I'm like,
I was never a fan of Drummond.
I'm like, I'm not like he's a good but I'm not seeing the fit. Once again, a paint clogger with two guys who wants to operate on the block. And then you add DeRozan, who don't shoot a lot of 3-point shots. He's gotten better over the year, but that's not his forte. That's not what he wants to do. He's a mid-range player.
Mhm.
Um, how does that fit? How does that fit LeBron, who wants to operate in the mid-range area? How does that affect AD, who wants to operate in the mid-range area? They need just a bunch of shooting around them. Of course, they probably need another playmaker if they're not going to keep Dennis Schroeder. But
Mhm.
they have to just uh, get as much shooting on the perimeter as possible. That old Wesley Matthews, can him. He's horrible. Um, you know, I like Horton Tucker. I like THT. He cool. Um, Caruso. They can pack him up. They can pack him up. He can go. Um, I'm just looking at the roster, and I don't know why they didn't use Montrezl Harrell down the stretch.
Yeah.
That was kind of baffling to me. You brought him in here to kind of help replace the McGee and Dwight Howard, and you don't use him. So that was kind of interesting to me. I think this is a good comparison on Kuz. Kuz is a good player on a non-playoff team. You send him somewhere, like you said, Sacramento. You send him somewhere that's where they're not good. You send him to Orlando Magic. You send him to Detroit Pistons. He averaged 21, 22 points a game. But in this scenario where you have to play with LeBron, and he's a scorer, he's not a catch and shoot player, and they're asking him to be a catch and shoot player, playing with LeBron. It just is what it is. If you're not the second option, you got to go stand in the corner. I mean, we unfortunately that's just what it is, and you got to be ready to knock him down. And Kuz is not a good enough 3-point shooter for that. He needs to be off the bounce um, and playing off the dribble. So definitely Lakers look like they need to make some changes to get back to the finals. But before we wrap it up, who do you have tonight? Clippers, Jazz, Game 6. Do we see a Game 7? Or do the Clippers make it to the Western Conference Finals to meet the Suns?
I think we'll go to a game 7.
Game 7. There it is. Utah winning tonight. I think Utah wins tonight. Paul George got to prove me wrong. He got to do it again. He has to do it one more time. And I wanna pull for Donovan Mitchell, but I'm not gonna keep giving Donovan Mitchell this pass. I know he's a young superstar, and we kind of like we're hyped that we're seeing some different talent out there. But Donovan Mitchell do a lot of jacking, do a lot of reg jacking, and he got to kind of like seriously, like even games where he played well, I look he's 9 for 23. Like he's jack, and he the man. He's just a value scorer, and I think it has to become a little bit more efficient for the Jazz to get over that hump, especially with Conley out. I'm not saying you can shoot. He got to shoot, but it's just got to be efficient. It's like The other night, KG he had, and KD on another world, but I'm just saying, like, 49 points on 23 shots. That's like he took the same amount of shots as Mitchell the other night, and got almost 50 out of it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying about efficiency, and that type of efficiency was crazy. But if the Jazz gonna be successful, I think we need Donovan Mitchell to be more efficient. And like I tell you, Young Wade, yes, he has to find a way to get to the free throw line more like free throw line more like a Young Wade, who got there a lot. So uh, it's gonna be interesting for me, even though the injuries has sucked, and has derailed some kind of the playoffs a little bit. It's still been fun to me. It's been some good games. The young guns stepping up, taking the torch, kind of letting everybody know like the NBA is in good hands moving forward. Um, so it's been interesting. It looks like Philly has made a run and they're up 59-51. So Philly's up 8 right now, um, and Atlanta has not scored this quarter yet. So we might be looking like it could be a possible game 7 with this with both Eastern Conference semifinals. So like I said, it's been good games and glad we're back. Time out with Coach Cam. See you next week. We out.